The most important thing that my siblings taught me is that failure is just an opportunity for growth. I remember taking Physics 1 during undergrad, and I did very well on the first test in that class, and so I was optimistic going into the second test, but I did not do so well on that second test. And my brother, he was taking the course at the same time as me, and he did much better on the second test, but when he found out that I did not do so well on that test, his reaction was along the lines of, "Do you know what you did wrong? Do you know why you made those mistakes? Because if you know why you made those mistakes, then you won't make them next time." And so now whenever I mess up, I think about that, and I think, okay, what did I do wrong? How can I avoid doing that in the future? I still fail a lot. I'd almost say it's one of my defining traits at this point. But it can be kind of a good thing for my profession. I've written a lot of code that didn't work, and as a result of that, whenever my code doesn't work now, it's just really easy to fix, because I recognize all of the bugs, all of the common ones at least, and a lot of the less common ones, because I've usually made that mistake at least twice. One example of this at my past job, there was a bug where our code would crash after 5, maybe 10 minutes, and there didn't seem to be any good reason as to why it was crashing. It just kinda stopped working randomly, and I recognized it. For the computer-minded people, this was a concurrency bug, was the actual issue. But I recognized it because in my previous project, I'd run into the exact same bug, and I'd spent hours trying to figure out why my program kept crashing. And if I hadn't run into that in my previous project, I might not have understood what was happening here. So the moral of the story is, failure is okay, and sometimes even healthy. I believe it's my turn to ask a question, so I'd like to hear about what you are interested in. Tell me about one of your interests or hobbies apart from your career. One of my interests is roguelike games. These are video games where you have a grid, and you have a dungeon, you have rooms and corridors set out on this grid, and you have a character that is basically trying to explore all of this dungeon and get to the bottom of it. And it is turn-based, which means that first your player acts, and then all of the monsters get a turn to act. And there are two very prominent features of roguelikes. One is permadeath, permanent death, which basically means when your character dies, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. There's no checkpoints, you can't save your game or anything. And the other one is procedurally generated dungeons. That dungeon map I was talking about, the rooms and the corridors, it gets procedurally generated, which means it's not the same every time, it changes. And so I'm always very interested in how they build that map. I've written several algorithms to try to do that, and I'm never quite convinced that I'm doing it well. Anyway, that's one of the things I'm interested in. I'm looking forward to hear what your interests are.